All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is Philip with Custom Bus Conversions. We are on the Bohemian bus today. We're just kind of going to show an example here of an initiative we've run into. We've had some questions about the bedroom areas and the window openings on rear engine buses. Now, on these buses that have the engine in the rear, you basically have what looks sort of like a couch built in here, and this more or less is a housing for the engine and transmission of the bus. They're actually literally right down below this. Now, with that being said, on these buses, typically we end up setting the bunks up in the back here. So you'd have your bed, your mattress would essentially end up flush with this part right here. Now, if you go through, now on all these, what we end up doing is we cut the bottom half of the window out and you have it so that way your windowsill comes right up here to this strip of metal. Well, if you try to have it all the way open on these buses, and you can kind of get a rough idea here with this 2x2, this is what we use for studs. If you go through here and you start studding this up, you're actually going to be sitting part way up above the window here. Because right back behind this wood here, you can probably see the sunlight that's down on my finger. That's actually your window frame. So there's really no way of being able to come in and first of all, you wouldn't be able to have a good sill on here because this is all going to be showing through the window. And also, you wouldn't have any kind of room to be able to put your trim around here. You know, like your actual 2-inch window trim. Just from a personal standpoint, I mean, if you're going through and you're building, a custom-built bus, and you've got, all your windows trimmed out, and you've got these window sills, you really don't want to go ahead and kind of have things be a little bit off once you get into that back room. The other thing is too, is with this, is that you get a little bit more insulation in the wall. It's going to, keep you warm at night, keep you cool on the hot days, and the main thing though also is really with the window trim and just the way that the windows are set, because this right here is literally the bottom of your window frame, and it would sit right flush with your the top of your mattress, or actually your mattress, depending on the style of the bus, could actually be sitting up higher, and you'd be able to look through the window and be able to see the top of your mattress. So that's I guess the...
Well, and one of the things I know that clients are concerned about is the natural light in the back of the bus. So that's why they want to leave the windows open so it feels more airy and open and see.
Certainly. Well, another thing, something that can be added in with that, which we're actually doing on one of the other buses, is you can actually put in a skylight into the roofs on these things, and you can do that with like this bus is with the wooden ceiling, and you can also do it with the ones that aren't adding the wood; they're actually just having the regular metal ceiling. We can actually go through here and cut the openings out and put in skylights, so that way you can get the added sunlight in there. Also, the other thing too is some folks want to keep this walled off. Some people actually keep it open so that way they can be able to actually get in and access these back windows. So you got that as well. That's a pretty good sized window there. You can always choose to keep open depending on what your security issues are wherever you're planning on living at. But that's always another option right along with the skylight. So there are other solutions to that that will come out more aesthetically pleasing at the end of the project than trying to do something like this. I mean, anything is possible, but you start getting into a lot of time-consuming issues here. That you could end up spending a lot of time putting something like this together, and then not really like the finished result, and sometimes it might not even work out. So,
well, and one of the things I noticed in another bus is if you want to keep this area back here for storage, then you really only have a certain amount of room from here to here.
Yeah, basically,
that you can use.
What you end up with is you'll have your edge sill going right along here. It basically butts right up against these clips here. So really, and this right here is your only, close to vertical, straight up and down spot where you're going to be able to stud them in. And this is where I start when I go in here to actually frame these buses up. This is my starting point, is laying flat right up against here. So really, what you only end up with. With the stud, at best you can end up with an 8-inch deep shelf.
So it would honestly probably
it only ends up being 6 because you still have to accommodate for your 2-inch trim that goes around the outside there. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of put it simply, it'll be kind of ugly to go without the trim there. So
in honesty, instead of using the bottom half of the window, its practicality to get the natural light would be to put shelves above the window
and still keep that.
And still keep the back window here.
Certainly, yeah, because you end up, I mean, this is a pretty good sized window you got right here. I mean, this is almost 53 inches long. So that's basically the equivalent of having a whole nother set of those side windows. more or
Okay.
less. And this is actually coming from another direction, which could be beneficial as well, you know, depending on where the majority of your sunlight comes in at, depending on how your vehicle is oriented. So,
Well, that's a good point too. And that window, that has to be left accessible. I mean, you can put a wall in front of it, but you're going to have to up that anyway.
oh
So,
yeah, so I mean, it doesn't really hurt anything to keep that, you know, that area all open, unless you have security issues. That's one thing we've had with, you know, a couple of clients. They're a little bit more concerned about security. But I mean, these things you can make them to lock in place. I mean, it's just like having a door on the front of your house that has a piece of glass in it. You know,
okay.
lock it up at the end of the day.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us again today, and have a good one.